Alright guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Rowlands and I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and I'm just out on my daily compulsory state mandated walk again. Before I get on with this video, I just want to tell people to please sign up to our newsletter, www.deephealingspace.com/sign up. The reason is that there is a systematic shutdown on free thinkers, alternative media, open-minded truth seekers, and they cannot take a newsletter away from us. They can take our videos, they can take our articles, they can even take websites, but they can't take newsletters. So please, if you like this channel, if you like the content that we're producing, please sign up to that. It's so important. Also, please head over to bitshoot.com. Look for Deep Healing Space and add us on there as well. That's a decentralized YouTube platform. I do recommend people to start moving over to there because, like I said, there is a big crackdown on truth. That's basically it. It's not even conspiracy theories, it's just truth. So please do that. Please like, subscribe. While we're still on YouTube, we're a small channel, so probably not going to get shut down very quickly, but still, it's important to be prepared. In this video, I just want to talk about some of the stuff that's been going off recently. Unfortunately, I forgot my selfie stick today, so be using my hand. But yeah, some of the things that's been going on, some of the big news, talk about it a little bit. David Icke, 5G, the shutdown, the agenda. The first thing is that YouTube have banned an interview from David Icke, which is an opinion. It's free speech. You know, he's a 65-year-old man, I think, just stating his opinion about what he thinks on Corona. There was no hate, there was no messages inciting people to do anything. You know, David Icke's an intelligent person. He knows not to go and tell people to burn down 5G masts, not to go and tell people to do things that are illegal. Now, if his theories are crackpot, tinfoil, insanity, laughable, stupid, why the shutdown? Why the crackdown? You know, why are terrorist channels still up, but you're blocking David Icke? You know, why is that? You know, London Real, brilliant speakers on recently. We've got Bruce Lipton talking about the biology of belief. You know, we've got amazing minds talking about how to boost your immune system. I don't necessarily agree with all Wim Hof's information, but Wim Hof was on there talking about how to boost your immune system. You know, we had other great minds, great speakers talking about health, talking about natural health. But what do the BBC want to concentrate on? David Icke. They don't give a shit about any information on immune systems, any information on immune boosting. You know, it's a fact. It's not even debatable that China and New York have been using high-dose vitamin C. They've been using vitamin A to treat coronavirus, which is no surprise because these are what the body naturally uses to fight, to boost its immune system. And the BBC call it fake news. You know what I mean? They're just desperate to not try and tell people about natural things that help to improve anyone that's suffering from coronavirus. So that's basically it. I mean, it's a British bullshit corporation. You know, every country in the world, you know, they're not. The news is meant to be unbiased. The BBC in the UK, it's a government-run agency, simple as that. It's propaganda, 24/7 propaganda, and they just lie. You know, they lie, and they just want to incite fear. They want to incite scaremongering. They want to incite just panic, and hopefully people like me are calling them out on the bullshit. People like you who are starting to wake up. There's a lot more people waking up now. I mean, you know, go over to Bill Gates on Facebook or Instagram and Twitter and read the comments. You know, if you're actually promoting Bill Gates, on his social media channel, you're actually the minority, you know, which is amazing, because it's showing us that people are waking up to the bullshit that's going off around us. So that's my main question to the BBC. If David Icke, if the 5G conspiracies, you know, which is not a conspiracy in my eyes, but you know, is absolute crackpot, stupid, insane, then why ban it? Why block it? This is what free speech is all about. This is what freedom is all about, is to allow people to share their opinions. No hate, you know, not telling people to do things that are violent, that are against the law. We're just sharing ideas. So, you know, big giant red flag. Now, do I believe that coronavirus, that 5G causes coronavirus? I am yet to believe that, but that doesn't mean that people like David Icke should be just removed from YouTube. You know what I mean? We want an open discussion. The reason why I don't believe, I mean, from what I can gather, David Icke thinks that it is 5G and there's not a virus. The big thing for me, I suppose, is that I obviously suffered severely with EMF sensitivity, so I know it quite well, and you know, I can imagine what 5G feels like if it's anywhere near what it's like to have EMF sensitivity. And you know, if it was 5G, there's places like Africa, there's places like the Falkland Islands, there's places like Greenland where people are getting these symptoms, you know, respiratory systems without 5G there. And if you have EMF sensitivity, it's a non-stop thing. It's a 24/7 thing. I mean, if you go into the hospitals, you're likely going to get worse because of all the radiation, you know. So I don't think that 5G causes corona. However, does 5G make corona worse? 100%. Do you know what I mean? 110%. You know, it's radiation. You know, it causes it increases all of the symptoms that people are getting: sore throat, respiratory problems, heart murmurs, heart conditions, you know, all that sort of stuff. The 5G microwave radiation will make that 10 times worse. You know, one of the reasons I know this is that I suffered from EMF sensitivity, and a lot of people will say, well, you're just talking shit, you know. Sorry for extra language, I don't really swear, but I'm getting so worked up that instead of channeling my anger on Facebook, which is really tempting to do, I'm trying to channel it on something like YouTube, so get it out there to people on a more healthier scale. But yeah, I'm really worked up with some of the absolute BS that I'm seeing on social media. But a lot of people will say to me, well, it was just all in your mind, you know, it was you know, it was a mental problem, you know, you're talking rubbish. But what I would say to these people would be, you know, I didn't know about EMF sensitivity before I figured out I had EMF sensitivity. I ended up buying a laptop, and then all of a sudden I started experiencing these very strange symptoms of heart increases, burning sensation on my skin, insomnia, extreme insomnia, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I had no idea where it was coming from. And then I realised that it seemed to be getting worse when I was on a computer. So why is that? What's going off there? Didn't have any idea. Didn't put two and two together. Then I found out that I was getting the same sensations when I was on a phone. Weird. What is all that about? Then I was getting the same sensations. I found all of a sudden I was getting these same sensations, and I was like, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? And then I would realise that I'm near a router. So this is not a mental condition. This is not a mental thing. These were physical things that was happening to me when I was near radiation. And then luckily for me, I'd heard about EMF sensitivity. So I thought, well, maybe I've got EMF sensitivity. I moved out of this flat. I was going to go to Chiang Mai in Thailand to just find somewhere to live. In the meantime, I was travelling from Laos to Chiang Mai. I ended up booking a room from Laos because I couldn't have a look around Chiang Mai. Got to this room. I was on the first floor flat, and I could not sleep. My EMF sensitivity was just absolutely through the roof. And I couldn't, it was so confusing because my phone was off, my laptop was off. Yeah, there was Wi-Fi probably in the flats around me, but it was so bad for 4, 5, 6 days. I was thinking, what the hell is, this is, maybe it's not EMF because this is just so extreme. One day I walked out onto my balcony, I don't know why I didn't do this before, looked out onto my roof and there was a freaking foam mast on the roof above my head, and I could not believe it. And I spent a few days driving around Chiang Mai trying to find a place that had low Wi-Fi, low internet, and I found one place with one Wi-Fi, and I was so sensitive I could even tell you which room the Wi-Fi was in and what direction it was coming on from the radiation sensation I was getting on my skin. So if you think that is just me making it up in my mind, it's impossible, because I was putting 2 and 2 together. It was trial and error. And then I found out as soon as I got away from it, I went out into nature, built a Faraday cage, I didn't experience it anymore. So that's just one account from literally tens and tens of thousands of people talking about this. And I'll tell you now, that was the worst experience of my life. I always say to people that there was 2 things that I've experienced in my life that I do not, the top 3 things that I do not wish upon my worst enemy. Number 1 is insomnia. Number 2 is easily EMF sensitivity. And number 3 is releasing a lot of copper from your system. Horrendous things. No one talks about them enough. Insomnia, probably, people talk about them, but EMF, and copper dumping, absolutely horrendous. So 5G is going to make this situation 1,000 times worse. I mean, one of the issues that I find with 5G is that apparently you can ramp up the frequency, so I think the frequency now is sort of around 3 gigahertz-ish, 4 gigahertz, 5, 6 gigahertz, but apparently they can ramp it up to 60 gigahertz. And this is the insidiousness of what they can do. They can basically launch 5G at a low frequency hertz and slowly, drip feed. It's a little bit like the frog in water. If you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps straight out. If you put a frog in cold water and slowly turn up the heat, after a while get warmer, it starts boiling and the frog doesn't jump out. And I feel like this is a similar situation now, is that you could turn on 5G, slowly over the years turn up the hertz, and people would even forget 5G's on. I suppose some people, and then once you get to 60 hertz, the frequency is so high that it can actually detach an oxygen molecule from the hemoglobin in the blood and basically cause people to starve of oxygen. So I mean, it's common knowledge that if you use the phone too much, you get brain tumours. Why do people think that's come from? Do you know what I mean? Do they think that's come from memes? Of course it hasn't come from memes. It's come from radiation. So why do people think it's absolute bullshit that you don't get radiation damage when people get tumours from the mobile phones? What do people think that's from? Do you know what I mean? Why have they banned Wi-Fi in kindergarten schools, nursery, primary schools in France? Because they're worried about the effects of radiation on the children. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a thing. Some countries are halting the 5G because, the 5G, they've had 0 independent tests done. 0 long-term studies on the effects of 5G on biology. And you've got people around the world saying that people are talking rubbish because they're just asking some simple questions about radiation. The radiation of the planet is increased by 10 quadrillion times. It's absolutely insane, and people have just got their head in the sand. Do you know what I mean? Don't want to speak about it, don't want to listen to it. you know what I mean? And that there are, you know, people are moronic, absolute morons. And you know, if you're not telling me there isn't an agenda, then again your head is in the sand. Because if this was a regular, you know, if this was a pandemic, a genuine pandemic, why is the agenda coming out? Why is they blaming cash as a means of transferring the virus? We've known for years that they want a digital system. The excuse is here, the perfect excuse is here, so now the agenda's coming to fruition. Why are they installing 5G towers all around the country, in schools, in nurseries, in the lockdown? That's not essential. It's a non-essential thing. Do you know what I mean? You can't even you can't even sit down for a walk. You can't even jump in your car to take your dog down to a field without the police being on your case as a non-essential. Yet they're pumping the 5G towers out in schools and primary schools, which have been banned in France. Do you know what I mean? And they're calling that essential. You know, it's absolute bullshit. And you got to call it out. You know, you got to be brave. You got to call it out. You know, I've been calling people out on Facebook, but the problem is with Facebook is you get into these long rants with people, and these people that you're having arguments with, even if they know that your argument is sane and understandable, they don't want to look like an idiot. So they'll just go on and on and on and on and on. You know, and just complete head in the sand, you know. And a lot of the times you get a bunch of idiots who think you're the insane one, you know. It's like I posted, you know, this is another a crazy thing that no one talks about, is the fact that the doctors and the nurses and the coroners are actually marking people down as dying from corona when without any tests, you know. So they could have died of pneumonia, they could have died of COPD, do you know what I mean? They could have died of regular flu, they could have died of 1,000 different things, and they're marking them down as death by corona. What the is going off? That's illegal. That's illegal. I mean, if we are locking down the entire country, if we're locking down the entire world, and the last thing you want to be doing is making making the numbers artificially high. You know, we want the accurate numbers. We want the most accurate numbers possible, because we want the world to start back up again, because of the tens of millions of people that are now unemployed, thousands of people that are suicidal. I heard the other day, that I think 2 days ago, people that died in Australia was something like 40 people, and then 24 people actually being tested positive. Can you imagine how many people has actually committed suicide on that day? I would hazard a guess at more than 42. Sweden are acting, you know, Sweden have not locked down the country. They're doing pretty good. You know, so there's an agenda. There is an agenda when the numbers are artificial. When they put, of course there's an agenda. That is absolute insanity. And I posted this on Facebook. Why is no one talking about this? Why is no one talking about this? You get 4, 5, 6 likes maybe. But if I posted someone out sitting down in a field, do you know what I mean, when they should be not sitting down with the guidelines and just going on the daily walk, I'd have got 100 likes. I've got 100 likes for calling out my neighbour, for grassing on my neighbour. Do you know what I mean? Sunbathing. You know, someone sunbathing. People abusing others on Facebook because they've sat down in a field and sunbathed. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I think of something, when I think of one thing, you name me one thing. You know, if we was on Family Fortunes, I think it's the same program in America. You know, we asked 100 people, what thing promotes social distancing more than anything? You know, number one would be sunbathing. You know, what one thing helps to kill viruses? What one natural thing helps to kill viruses more than anything? Probably the first thing up there, definitely top 5, will be getting out in the sun, getting some fresh air. chilling, relaxing, 2 times maxing. So that's that. So you know, as you can see, I'm channeling some frustration, that goes wasted, I think, when I'm trying to get it out on social media platforms. So anyway, that's that, guys. Keep the faith. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Please sign up to our newsletter. It's so important. If we end up getting wiped off for whatever reason, there's no way we can get back in touch. I think that there's going to be a rise of independent media. Alex Jones, he got blocked for what? Stating opinions, sharing ideas. You know, a lot of the stuff he talks about has come true. I don't agree with anything that he says, everything that he says, but who has the right? I mean, you know, if you own a company, you have the right to shut them down, I suppose. But that's why it's so important to become independent. That's why it's so important to get onto decentralized systems. Because when you get a conglomerate, a monopoly, like YouTube, everyone puts their videos on YouTube, everyone shares their ideas on Facebook. These centralized platforms, you know what I mean? They could just shut people down whenever they want, you know. So the revolution is probably not going to be on the streets as much. The revolution's probably going to be more on the internet waves. You know, we can fight, we can bring down these systems just by switching platforms. That's the power that we've got. It's literally in our fingertips. Do you know what I mean? But you know, if it gets to a point where we've got to get out on the streets, you know, Viva la Revolution and all that sort of stuff, to get away from these mandatory, pathetic, toxic-ridden vaccines. And this is another thing, vaccine. Look, if this was the plague, you know, if thousands of people were dying, well, they are dying, but if people like me were just dying because it's an absolutely deadly virus, I'll take a vaccine, no problem. Polio, have a vaccine, you know. But this is not anything like that. This is a mild case of the flu for most people, for 99% of the people. You know, the people that are dying are literally on the edge of death anyway. You know what I mean? We're prolonging the lives of people that they're probably ready to die. There's just ill people, whatever they would have got next, they wouldn't have been doing well. You know, so do not take the vaccine. There's something fishy about it. Well, it's not something, 100%. There is something fishy about the vaccine, you know. And yeah, so that's all I've got to talk about today. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch you all soon.